They're trying to do everything they can to erect the barriers so that the people in the smoke-filled rooms make the decisions. That's really, it's as simple as that.
This is their strategy. This is not by accident they're doing this. They do it because they don't want independents to vote. They do it because they want to control who votes in primaries. They're trying to take it away because they don't have the control and the voters do. And that is what Independent Voter News and Independent Voter Project is all about. We're all about giving just voters, whether or not you choose to affiliate or not, you have a right to vote. You have a right to participate in your democracy.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Independent Voter. We're going to have a quick show. We're going to do some quick hits on this. A lot going on across the country, and then we particularly here in California. We got a little bit of a battle between the political establishment and the reform community going on. So, Cara, I know you've been up late on the East Coast. What are you covering?
So what I've been covering is we made it into Politico this week, the More Choice California Coalition, which is going to defend the top two and hopefully expand the top two to top four or top five in California. There's been just a lot of back and forth on social media about that, a lot of articles on the IVN.US website about why we find it pretty much abhorrent that leaders of both the California Democratic and Republican parties are going to try to take away the influence of 7 million California independent voters.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening, don't understand why this is such a big deal. I mean, this situation kind of highlights the whole really fight that's going on, right? So you have Steve Maviglio, a Democratic consultant, files an initiative to quote undo the top two. Shortly thereafter, he's joined by Ron Nehring, former director of the California Republican Party, right? Shortly thereafter, go back to the left side, you have Lorena Gonzalez, one of the leaders of the labor movement, who joins it. And then shortly thereafter, you have Carl DeMaio, the supposed, nemesis of Lorena Gonzalez, joins this effort to undo the top two. And what does that really mean? They want to get rid of the nonpartisan primary. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they can't control the outcome. Right. And so the More Choice Coalition is a bunch of reformers from all over the map who are like, no, if you have a problem that there's only like two candidates they advance, the answer isn't to take away independent voter rights. The answer is to advance more candidates into the general election and give voters more choice. So that's kind of the standoff that's going on. And it's telling because you have folks like Paul Mitchell, well-known, credible pollster, owns a data company, provides a lot of data to the Democratic Party and others, right? Who's like now written an article that suggests that voters are soured on the nonpartisan primary when his own poll shows that voters actually want an open primary and nonpartisan primary in his own poll with the questions framed by him, right? So it's like the standoff is there, and it might seem esoteric to folks, but like there's a fundamental battle of voting rights, right, Cara?
It's going to be great. I mean, I think the battle has been somewhat joined. I really like that Politico, made mention of our leadership of the resistance. I like that they were impressed by that. We were ready to go as soon as we knew that they were going to do this. Right?
They said we rolled out the slick website.
Yeah, we got to give a shout out to Matt Oney for building that slick website, according to Politico.
Yeah, we covered on IVN this week how interesting it is that Carl DeMaio has come out against this, and he's accused reformers of being deceptive. He accused them of being deceptive when it was proposed in 2010, when he said...
Hold on. Just so everybody knows. And look, Carl, give me a call anytime. Like I'll give you credit when credit's due. I know, right? I actually appreciate some of the things that you're doing, but it's pretty rich to call us deceptive. This is the guy who literally sent out mailers through a nonprofit that he runs, telling people to vote for a Democratic opponent, right? Like just making it look like it was
the voter guide thing.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we reported on this week was that his own party, the California Republican Party, sent him a cease and desist letter because they accused him of being deceptive in his voter guides. He has a website called RepublicanVoterGuideCA.com. That makes it look like it's an official Republican. So
we're deceptive.
Honestly, the whole point of the nonpartisan top two primary is to give everyone a vote. You get a vote. If you are registered in California, you get the same ballot. You can choose from any candidate. That was what the promise was all the
Yeah.
time.
And it's so unfortunate because if you look at, we're trying to get all these independent voters out to vote in California.
Yeah.
So many of the comments are like, you can't vote in a primary
Right,
if you're independent. You can't. It's like, that's the point of the video.
well,
we're sending out this video to tell you that's not true.
Well, because last election, like, it's hard in the primary.
Yeah.
We do turnout programs. It's really hard. We actually, two things.
Yeah.
One, we wrote an article about the confusing California primary. Like, we've sent it to the Secretary of States before, saying, like, how are you allowing this to go on with these confusing rules? We went so far as we took a lawsuit all the way to the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
Because it does. I mean, pick a minority category. Say it was black voters, or it was Latino voters, or it was any other like class of voters. If you did the level of disenfranchisement that they do here in California, even with a nonpartisan statewide primary to any of those class of voters, I mean, it would be open shut case in the Supreme Court. Like, no, you cannot do that to voters.
Yeah.
But because there's no protected class, all that, we just treat them like, oh, okay, here's all this confusing stuff. We'll let the parties decide if you can participate and then figure it out.
And the other irony is that the critics of Top 2, one of their talking points is that it's confusing for voters. It's not confusing to just vote. That's all. You can vote for any person you want. But it is confusing when you have a separate primary system for your presidential cycle that requires voters to do this navigation where you can request a ballot for this primary, but you can't for this one. If you want to vote here, you have to re-register. But if you want to vote in this primary, technically you don't. But the party's still going to tell you to join a party, so you don't get a provisional ballot, right? What I just said,
confusion.
Everything I just said is chaos and confusion. All of that, like, follow what I just said.
This is their MO, though, you guys. This is exactly what they are. This is their strategy. This is not, by accident that they're doing this. They do it because they don't want independents to vote. They do it because they want to control who votes in primaries. They're trying to take it away because they don't have the control, and the voters do. And that is what Independent Voter News and Independent Voter Project is all about. We're all about giving just voters, whether or not you choose to affiliate or not, you have a right to vote. You have a right to participate in your democracy.
Yeah. If you think about it from a purely logical analysis, if all the primaries were open to every party, all they would have to do is have the best candidate. All you got to do is get the best candidate. And
what a
bring people.
Okay, but here's their argument, right? Which is a legitimate one. I actually agree with the Democratic Party v. Jones decision in the Supreme Court that said you can't violate the First Amendment rights of political parties, right? Their argument is, look, these nomination proceedings. There are private, it's like, going to a private group and then saying, oh, this outsider can come vote for our chairman or something like that, right? That's what it is. Well, so put that into context. What they're saying is we are entitled, our organization, private organization is entitled to own this first important stage of the election process, right? What California, Alaska,
in a closed primary,
right? What California, Alaska, and Washington did was something like fundamental. They didn't just say, "Oh, we want an open or a nonpartisan primary." They said the primary belongs to the voters. Yeah. It is not, you don't have an entitlement over this process. Sure, you can participate like everybody else. You can use your organization's name as to identify your candidates. You can spend all kinds of money to communicate to your members and do all that kind of stuff.
And you can register in whatever thing you can register as a Democrat, and you can join, you can register as a Green or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Right, but you don't get to own a public taxpayer-funded process. It's really that simple, right?
Then why do they make it so difficult? They make it so difficult because
that's why I wrote the article, 115 years, right? This is only just part of the story, right? It was 115 years ago, progressive at that time, coming from the Republican side, progressive movement to say, let's not nominate candidates in smoke-filled rooms. So they brought the primary process into the public and allowed voters to participate, right? 115 years later, they're trying to do everything they can to erect the barriers so that the people in the smoke-filled rooms make the decisions. That's really, it's as simple as that.
And the author of Top 2, Steve Peace, wrote on IVN this week. We're looking at, what we were just talking about the voter confusion with the presidential primary. One of the critiques, one of the things that we've heard, particularly on the Republican side of Top 2, is that Top 2 has created a one-party state. If you look at voter registration, 45% of the electorate is registered Democrat. And then because the Democrats in the presidential primary allow voters to vote in their primaries, that has caused a lot of independents sort of lean towards Democrats. That's created this environment where they lean towards Democrats. So you're looking at about 40% of independents actually lean Democrat. So in the event, so Top 2 is not responsible for California being a one-party state. It is a one-party state because voters want Democrats.
Well, if anybody's responsible, it's the Republican Party. I mean,
Right.
I have they close their presidential primary and tell a bunch of voters, no, you can't participate
Right.
in our primary, and then they want voters to then vote for the candidates in the general election. I go, it's a self-inflicted wound. Like how they have not seen the correlation between closing their primaries, right, and their de-evolution of basically having a level of irrelevance in California politics is astounding, right? And to this day, you have people like Ron Nehring. Okay, I'm not personally attacking you. I'm just saying, do you not see the connection between your position of wanting to lock out voters and the voters' low opinion of your party?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. It's like in high school when you ask someone to hang out and like they've already got plans earlier in the day, but they're like, oh yeah, but you can come meet up with us like later, like once we get out, like we'll be like all together and you can come hang later.
And stop by.
Yeah.
And so
Like,
what
bring
do
some beer.
Yeah.
Just bring some. Make sure you bring some beer with you.
And so what do Republicans think is
BS.
going to happen if we move back to closed primaries? All elections on the state level will be decided in those Democratic primaries.
But they'll be decided by the five Republican voters that are left. That was a joke. I guess it didn't land. All right.
It's
what
not
else?
funny,
what else
Chad.
did we-
It's not funny.
That's
Stop.
what-
This
My
is
wife
serious
tells that to me like
business.
10 times a day.
This is serious business. You cannot be so casual about all of this.
But yeah,
but seriously, but in all seriousness, let's not be serious, Ethan. I mean, you've been working on a lot of stuff. I've been giving you a lot of crap lately, but you've been working on like a million things right now.
We do have a lot going on. We got the turnout program. We just launched the new IVN, which is anything software website related is always an evolving. It's like a real living being because you got changes that you got to make and you got maintenance that you got to do, and so it's gonna be a project that kind of spans out maybe forever.
We're just like here to be a repository for more people to participate. Do you know, like there's nothing bad going on here. We're just trying to keep the election in California in particular. We're trying to keep the election open for now 7 million people.
Right.
There's new numbers that just got released, you guys. So one of the article that Steve Peace wrote this week has to do with the top 2 doesn't guarantee a Democrat versus Democrat or a Democrat versus a Republican or a Republican versus a Republican or two it doesn't try to make that decision ahead of time for the voters. It just lets everyone who wants to run, and everyone who wants to vote. Right? And then
It's
the
pretty
chips sort of
simple.
fall where they may.
right.
And so they've spun up this whole thing, right, about how it's going to, the Democrats, oh my God, it's going to be a Republican versus Republican top 2. This is terrible. We have to get rid of the top 2 and go back to the closed primary system with first past the post voting. And that's going to solve anything. That's not going to solve anything, guys.
Yeah, because it's working so well everywhere else across the country, right?
But the point is there's 45% of the voters, just like Shawn said, who in California who are registered Democrats.
Yeah.
And there are only 25% registered Republicans. And now we've just crested the most recent thing from the Secretary of State's website shows that independents and other party voters now make up 30.06% of the entire California electorate. That's a lot, you guys. That's more than the Republicans, right?
You have like Republican candidates like Steve Hilden are like, oh, but this could lead to 2 Democrats advancing and the Republicans aren't in there. Well, Steve, what is your message to independent voters? What is your message to dissatisfied Democrats?
He said his message. It's the same as Lorena Gonzalez's message. It's the same as the chair of the Democratic Party's message. It's, hey, we don't want you guys to be involved in this first stage of the election that you pay. By the way, that you've paid for, right? They're unified on one thing. They don't like independent voters to have equal voting rights. Like it's really that simple. And Steve's, Steve is a smart guy. Steve Hilton is a smart guy. He's doing his thing, whatever, but it's so disingenuous. I know for a fact because Steve Hilton has attended some of these reform meetings, and he knows the larger fundamental issue at stake. So, I don't know if he's just too scared to stand up to Donald Trump or something because Donald Trump doesn't like open primaries. But anyway, it's a really disingenuous.
Speaking of those candidates, we did have some candidates respond to our survey, right? We sent a survey to all the state constitutional candidates in California asking them 4 questions. 2 of the questions were about making sure that independents can participate in primaries. Do you support this? Yes or no? And then another one was, would you like to expand from top 2 to top 4? Yes or no? And so Matt Mahan, who happens to be my favorite candidate running, he responded yes to both questions. So did Fiona Ma, the state treasurer, which was really, really cool to see. And then sort of most importantly, I would say, is the person who didn't respond. And that's the Secretary of State, Shirley Weber, the Secretary of State of the entire state of California, a Democrat who just went on record with independent voters saying, she wants to get rid of the top 2.
Right.
She wants to shut the independents out.
And look, I have a lot of respect for Shirley Weber. I know our family has supported her from her campaigns, and her daughter. They're great people, right? But it just shows the conflict of interest when you have somebody who's really, she's a proud Democrat, and she's been a great representative of the Democratic Party, but she can't distance herself from her role in the Democratic Party, from her role as the Secretary of State, whose job is to protect small I independent voters from every party. She's gone on record saying she doesn't think you have the right to vote, and she knows it's taxpayer funded. She administers it, right? But what's interesting is you have Don Wagner responded, running for he's a Republican, said yes, independents have the right to vote. The Green Party candidate for Secretary of State, he responded.
Michael Feinstein.
Michael Feinstein said he did. It's just, and you would think, based on the Democratic Party's talking points of voter rights,
right. I was going to say,
I will say
that's supposed to be,
I will say to your point, Chad, I have to, I lend some credit to Rob Bonta, the Attorney General, who we covered in the piece. Obviously he didn't respond to our questionnaire, but he has gone on record and just said, hey, I'm the Attorney General. I'm going to defend the law, the state law, whatever it is. So he hasn't come out with an official position because that's not really his place. That's not his role as Attorney General. Yeah.
Which might not sound like a big deal, right? Yeah. Oh, okay, he's doing his job. But you look to Texas, and you have an attorney general that took a different position. Right. I will not do my job, and I will, I will fight for
instead, I will sue the state. I will sue myself.
Right. So to Shawn's point, you got to give credit where credit's due. So well done, Rob Bonta, who's a Democrat. Yeah. Right. And so this is really a nonpartisan issue. Also noted in the articles, a number of Democrats within the legislature that have come out publicly and said, no, I don't agree with our party chair's position. I think everyone has the right to vote. Right.
A whole bunch of them, and there'll be more, I'm sure. There will
on both
be
sides.
More, I'm sure, on both sides.
On both sides. It's a truly nonpartisan issue.
It really is. It really is.
I
love how I wanted to just say one more thing about secretaries of state. In Maine, we had the Democratic Secretary of State here when we were trying to implement ranked choice voting, and he was the biggest obstructionist of all. And he refused. We had to sue him to get him to implement
to
ranked
comply
choice
with
voting.
the law. Yeah,
we had to sue him.
Yeah. Shawn just wrote an article, D.C. That's basically a Democrat monopoly right there. You have the voters passed an open primary with ranked choice voting, right? And Shawn, what's going on there?
So yeah, the city council just had a hearing. Lisa Rice, the person who spearheaded and sponsored Initiative 83, which was designed to put in place both ranked choice voting, open primaries, passed with 73% of the vote in 2024.
73%.
Yeah,
73%.
That means Democrats, independents, even Republicans voted for this. So yeah, and then the city council though last year decided, you know what, we're just not going to fund this. We don't care what the voters said. We don't think independent voters matter. And so we will fund the reform that we're okay with, which is ranked choice voting, but as long as you keep it in closed primaries, right? Just like in New York City, right?
Just like
Yeah,
New York.
Yeah, exactly. Which is testament to like you hear it all the time. Oh, I like ranked choice. I don't like ranked choice. It's like that's like saying I like food. Okay. There's all different varieties. They have different healthy levels. They have different tastes. They have different stuff. You got it. Like, that's why we have this show and this platform, is to talk about the nuances, talk about what is the effect on the outcome. And we start from the perspective, our outcome should reflect the electorate, not a party, not an ideology, not a segment of the electorate. It should reflect the electorate as a whole. I mean, that's the premise that you start with, and then look at the reform.
So the New York City version is like when they take like a, you know, your average snack and like package it up and say it's all natural, like super healthy, but they never use any of the like regulated words. Like, it's not actually organic. It's just 100% natural, like 100% fruit flavors. But
Ethan shall now forth be known as the analogy man.
Of course.
That's right. That's
You
right.
gotta make some good analogies.
No, they're
so
good.
people
I'm
understand.
not knocking it.
And the argument that the DC City Council is making is, well, we can't afford it. That would, okay, so just so people understand, implementing open primaries would account for like 0.003% of their multi-billion-dollar budget, but they can't afford it.
You should have seen what the
They
same
can't
guy in Maine, in Maine, the same thing. It was this Matt Dunlop. He literally said it was going to cost something like $23 million to implement ranked choice voting. And we basically made him eventually admit in court papers, that the entire cost was $79,000. Okay. From $12 million to $79,000. And it's right there in the court briefings, because he couldn't lie to the court.
But ultimately,
he could lie all he wanted to the voters' machine.
Ultimately, I love Lisa Rice's message, which is you can't put a price tag on voting rights. That's basically at the end of the day.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Lisa Rice is awesome. Shout out Lisa Rice.
Yeah, and if you haven't watched the testimony, I think Shawn put it in, embedded it in the article. Open Primaries. Shout out to them. We're there with their video camera. It's very powerful testimony. So
Do you guys know what a hackathon is? So it's like, so what we should do as a demonstration to show you how simple ranked choice voting really is to implement, we can take a standard like voting user interface, throw it to like 20 expert developers, see how fast they can change it into a ranked choice voting algorithm. I guarantee you it would be extremely quick.
Yeah,
it would probably be less than a couple hours just to change, because it's that simple. It's nothing like insane. Like, we could literally do a live demonstration.
We are going to start doing some stuff like this. So stay tuned. I guess Lena's giving me the evil eye, saying like you're coming up on the time. So, but stay tuned. We are going to do more stuff like that. Like you said, we just got IVN.us relaunched. Check it out. And for the first time, you can comment and give your feedback on the articles. You can sign up. Go to independentvoterproject.org. You can find the voter statistics for any state, the election system, any state. Visit us on social media, where Ethan's got like multiple things going viral right now. Particularly check out the lion video. I think it's pretty cool.
Roar, lion, roar, lion, roar.
So we're having a good time. There's a lot going on. I thank everybody for listening. I can't, and all the groups and stuff, you can really kind of feel the reform community coming together. And it feels pretty good. I think there's a reason to be optimistic. So you want to keep following the story. Check out what Ethan's going to do next on these competitions, or I don't know, whatever he's going to do. Visit us at Independent Voter Project. We appreciate all of you for joining us. Thank you so much. Until next time. This is the Independent Voter Podcast, sponsored by the Independent Voter Project and produced by OLAS Media. Remember, you can always find the Independent Voter Podcast or the How It Really Works series at ivn.us. Follow and subscribe at olasmedia.com.
OLAS Media.